It's my pleasure to be here. It's an honor to join fellow Rotarians who are doing a lot of amazing things in your personal lives, that we talk about a conversation that I think is important to all of us, which is why you and every one of you should be building as much wealth and making as much impact as you can on this continent. So currently we have around 450 million young people between the ages of 14 and 35 on the continent, right? And those are just official numbers. But let's say unofficial, we maybe have 600 million people between the ages of 14 and 35 on the continent. And each and every one of those young Africans represents the people who have to build the future in which each and every one of your grandchildren are going to be living in. And so if you really want to think about your legacy, if you really want to think about your children and their children's children, then we all have a role in empowering these people so that they can be better citizens, better entrepreneurs, better leaders for the community in which our grandchildren will live. And so today I'd really like to challenge you to start thinking about that legacy which you were endowed with from the moment you were born, that purpose that you're supposed to accomplish before you die, so that you can start seeing yourself as a very impactful person in this society. Now, when we think about impact in general, we think of someone like Mother Teresa. Everybody knows Mother Teresa here? Everybody? Okay. I think the people from the past 10 years haven't heard of her a lot, right? But in the 90s, in the 2000s, Mother Teresa was a global figure, a controversial global figure, but that was considered as the face of humanity and humanitarianism. And if you've been a Rotarian, you definitely know people like Mother Teresa, right? People who are always out there helping the community. They're always the first ones to go out and give help to other people. They're sacrificing themselves to support their community. Their children are being kicked out of school because they don't have school fees, but they're still out there helping others. We all know someone like this. Or we all have been someone like this, right? And so I'd like to argue that that's not the right way to make impact. I'd like to argue that Mother Teresa was also known for raising a lot of money that actually didn't go to helping the young people. There were a lot of controversies around her that the organization was raising millions and millions of dollars, but when you go to those houses, you wouldn't find as many people as they were saying that they were helping. And so there are people out there who are using good to make money for themselves. We know this, right? I'm preaching to the choir, I assume, right? Good. But also, let's think of someone like Nelson Mandela. Someone who we know as a promoter of peace, right? An individual who was out there promoting peace, and that yes, Africans and white South Africans can all live together in harmony. We should forgive for what has been done to us. And he's right. We should forgive. There is no way for us as Africans, if we want to be dominant in the future, that we're going to be holding on to the past. Oh, we're slaves. We were held back for hundreds of generations. That's why. No. Our children are born in a world where everything is accessible to them. The world is flat. Especially after the pandemic, the world has become flat. So your child has the same opportunities as a Japanese child if he or she is well fed. Because one of the biggest problems is our people are not well fed. So maybe one of you can solve that problem, where you can become that individual who can feed millions of people nutritious foods that will allow them to develop their brain very well so that they too can compete on a global level. But let's think of Nelson Mandela. He said, you cannot have impact on society if you have not changed yourself. Now, I've been training some of the most impactful young people across this continent for many years. And this is what I always tell them. You want to go out and change the world, but you haven't changed yourself. You want to go out and make impact in people's lives, you're incapable of making impact in the lives of your siblings, or your close friends, or your spouse. I think that's hypocrisy, isn't it? For us to say we're going out there to go and change the society, but we're incapable of doing the same sacrifices for the people who are the closest to us. So what are we actually doing? We say we want to make impact, we want to transform people's lives. It starts at home. When you are endowed with a purpose, when God gives you a purpose to be able to communicate, to inspire, to change, to do whatever, to heal, it starts with the people you were born with. It starts with the people you grew up with. It starts with the people who you're entrusted with. Your children, your siblings, your nephews. Those are the ones you need to start. So if you're going out there, I'm doing a lot of these fellowships and volunteering, and you cannot volunteer for your own people, I think there's a bell we need to ring. Hypocrisy. Hypocrisy. And so we're not hypocrites, right? We want to be the type of people who we walk our talk and our impact is felt in the small sphere, but also on a global sphere. And so that's my goal today. So when we think of Mother Teresa is not the example when you're thinking of impact, okay? Because even her, she had donors. So if you're out there, I just want to help people, and you can't sustain yourself, hypocrisy. And we don't want to be hypocrites. Now, let's think of someone like Wangari Maathai, right? We all know her, right? Hero of our society. We all look up to her as, oh, she was such a great woman, such a great leader. Yes, she loved trees. Indeed, she loved trees, right? But let's say you want to plant 3 million trees. Is it free? Huh? Is it free? You're going to get 3 million trees for free? There's no such thing as free, right? Because every time you do something for free, someone has to pay for it. Now, are you going to spend your time, your life, always going to go ask someone to pay for something that you were endowed and you were responsible to accomplish? Are you always going to be looking for a donor, a sponsor, a partner for something that is in your heart? No. If we want to be able to have the same type of impact as her, we need to be able to fund some of those initiatives. We need to be able to support financially those problems that we want to solve. That change we want to see in society, we have to be the ones to pay for it. We have to be willing to sign the check. That's the world in which we need to be living in. A world where those who go out to make impact can actually fund their initiatives. Because if you can't fund it, then you're dependent on the donor. And when you're dependent on the donor, your vision gets drifted away. And we all know this, right? The donors also have donors. The donors also have donors. The donors of the donors also have donors. So why don't you also become a donor? That's why I'm here today. I'm here today to remind each and every one of you, if we've met here today, because my purpose is God created me to make impact in the lives of people who are destined to make impact in the lives of millions of people. Everywhere the Lord sends me to speak, to train, to coach, to mentor, it's individuals who He knows are going to impact the lives of millions of people. And so if we're here today, that's my message to you. Each and every one of you in this room was born to make an impact in the lives of at least 1 million people. Because that's how I reach 1 billion people. I'm not going to be sent to the slum to go and say, hey, go inspire young people in the slums because they need inspiration. No. It's go train the young people who are working with the young people in the slums so that they can make more impact on those young people in the slums. And so each of us needs to know what is the impact that we're destined to make and who are the people who should benefit from that impact. But we cannot make that impact without wealth. So that thought of money is evil, money is this, money is that, it will keep you poor and miserable and at the mercy of others. Because your good heart cannot actually feed you in the world in which we live in. Having a good heart does not pay children's school fees. Having a good heart does not put food on the table. And so good heart alone will not change the world. We need people with good heart and large pockets in order for us to make impact in the life. And that's why I'm on that mission to make 1 million millionaires before 2030. Africans who are millionaires in dollars and who can be able to put their heart and their mission and the money behind it so that we can see drastic change in this continent. And I hope and believe that you'll be amongst those people. Now, my own journey, so that I don't sound like a hypocrite, right? I used to be like that. I used to be the giver. That person that was always giving away everything. Because I thought I wanted people to like me. I wanted people to be happy with me. I thought that was the way to make change. Right? I was volunteering in everything. I was sponsoring everything. I was getting involved in everything. And then, on the left, you see, I was on a farm in Guinea. I had started Guinea's first agro-tourism retreat. But that started after years and years of failure. I dropped out of 3 universities. I dropped out of medical school, dropped out of engineering school, dropped out of business school, all that trying to be a great writer, a great author, a great leader. And my parents are like, especially my dad, a surgeon, doctor, wants his son to be like him. You're going nowhere in life. Without a degree, you have no future. And you don't want to be a doctor, so you're no longer my son. I said, really? For me to be like you, I have to lose myself? For me to please you, I have to lose myself? For me to make you happy, I have to be miserable? And I said, where does this dad come from? Who gave me this dad? Right? I never chose him. Isn't it? I didn't choose my dad or my mom. Did any of you choose your parents? Please tell me, I'd like to know. I could go and sell those services. We share the profits. Because there's a lot of people who would pay to replace their siblings and their parents, right? That's what was a highlight in my life, was that my father was raised in an environment where he was told what to do. And that's what he delivered on, right? He became the best of what was expected of him. I grew up in an environment where I had the freedom to think for myself. And so I had a choice to make. Do I want to be who they want me to be, or do I want to be who I believe I'm destined to be? And today I am who I believe I'm destined to be. I am living the life that I know I'm supposed to be living. But how do you get to that place where you have the confidence to go out and do what you believe you were born to accomplish? You first have to believe in yourself. You have to believe in yourself. You have to believe that you're born for a purpose that is greater than just surviving, than just getting a paycheck, just doing some volunteering work. That when you die, your legacy should impact people in generations much after you. Right? So what did I do? I set myself on a journey. I wanted to be a world-class speaker. I wanted to share my inspirational journey with millions of people. And I was on the farm in Guinea, small country in West Africa. On that farm, I built the first agro-tourism retreat. On that farm, we built the agro-business school. On that farm, we started the first social entrepreneurship movement in the country. From that area, I owned one of the first private basketball clubs in the country. I was the youngest owner of a professional basketball club, investing in young people. Everything I would make in the farming, I would put in young people. And I thought that was the way to go ahead, right? But then, I was miserable. Because when problems happened to me, there was no way to help, right? When I was in depression, there was no one there. All these people who are there when you're doing good things, they're never there when you really need them, right? And so I said, this does not make sense. There must be another story to this. But I continued the journey. I went to the US for the Mandela Washington Fellowship, and then I came to Kenya a year later. Coming to Kenya was a reset. I said, okay, this first part of my life, I've learned this lesson that indeed you can go from failure to success, and you can bring all these people, have a great movement, but then you find yourself alone. I said, I didn't want that anymore. I wanted a life where I was living with people with whom together we're making impact. I wanted a life where every single day I interact with the best of the best across the continent. And Kenya was that territory for me. Because you had a vision 2030 that said you want to be the hub of innovation in Africa. I think you all know that, right? And that's why the Konza City plans were all put in. But unfortunately, as you know, those plans were just... so I was here telling people I'm here so that we can go to the Vision 2030. Like, I don't know what this guy is smoking, but that's not our priority, right? But in pursuing that vision that I wanted to help a nation like Kenya become that, I got aligned. I got aligned with what real impact and what real wealth creation means. And so I'd like you to think about that as well. So in that journey, I went from this was the agro-tourism retreat in Guinea. I went from here meeting former President and Michelle Obama, his wife, to this. We're now from Kenya, coming here with $100, spending my first 10 months living in Roysambu, in Lavington, in Kileleshwa, in Kiambu, in South Sea, on the floor, on a chair, in someone's room. I became one of the top business and entrepreneurship trainers on the continent. The vision, right? You set the vision of how many people's lives you want to impact. You set the vision of how much wealth you want to create. You set the vision of what legacy you want to pursue or what you leave behind, then you go after it. But in that going after it, you're going to have to pay the price. You're going to have to pay the price either in your health, you're going to have to pay the price in money, you're going to pay the price in pain, in mental and emotional stress. But if you persist, that vision is going to come true. Because today, just like Fred, there are tens of thousands, now moving to hundreds of thousands of young people like him that I coach and mentor every single day. Hence why I document my life now. So that I can keep track of what I'm doing. So that I can go back 10 years from now and re-listen to what I've said today. And remind myself that indeed you have a commitment towards these young people. You said 1 million millionaires by 2030, you must be able to pursue it. And so each and every one of your lives should be in a book. Each and every one of your work should be documented because you're destined to do something that's going to change the life of people who are going to lead this generation after us. or else you wouldn't be here today. Rotarians are not like everybody else. If a Rotarian stands up to speak, it's an individual who has some level of dignity. It's an individual who has some level of influence. It's an individual who has some level of power, or else you wouldn't join Rotary. The interest to join Rotary is because you are set apart from the rest in this society in which we live. And having trained and been a leadership trainer at the highest level, I know for a fact that not everybody is born to lead. I will tell you that for sure. Not everybody will raise up to the level of a great leader. Everybody will have some level of influence, but not everybody will be able to transform the lives of millions. And if you're here today, I guarantee you, that's why we were here to meet. So let's keep going. So now, 10 years ago, on the farm, 5 years later, my second TEDx talk, today, sold a business, building businesses, and selling businesses. Building wealth. But now, what impact do I want to leave? You remember I said 1 million millionaires by 2030, isn't it? Why? Because those millionaires, you, are the ones who are going to make the massive impact that the continent needs so that we can be a dominant force in the world. And it doesn't matter today if you're white, if you're Indian, if you're Kenyan, if you're Guinean, if you're Japanese or Chinese. As long as you're in love with Africa, you're African. That doesn't matter anymore. Today, we also need to understand that if we had the opportunity to be colonizers, we would have done the same thing. I guarantee you, we would have done the exact same thing. And I guarantee you, one day we'll do the same thing. In 30 years, Africans will do exactly what Chinese are doing right now. Consider India, isn't it? India is a dominant force in the world today. They didn't start off as a dominant force, isn't it? They set a vision that they don't just want to be like everybody else. They want to be a leading nation in the world. So it starts with you to say that you want your last name to be a name that's going to be remembered. You want your legacy to be one that's going to be transformational. It starts with you making that decision that your life is not going to be just, oh, I lived and I died and that was it. No. No. Leave that for other people. Not for you. Again, if we've met here today, each and every one of you has an impact of 1 million people to make. Now you need to decide how that impact looks. I don't know, you do. So I'd like you to think also the same way of the next 10 years of your life. Between now and 2032, how many people's lives would you have transformed through the work you're doing? What massive change, what radical change in society do you want to lead and see happen? And I want you to know that there's nothing special about me. Absolutely nothing. It's just that I have faith in the vision that comes to me. When I see something in a dream or I see something in my mind, I know for a fact that that thing already exists, or else I wouldn't have seen it. And so it's up to me and the people around me, who the Lord often puts there, for us to make that vision a reality. And like I said, those people are where? It's you. And so my vision is by 2030 is that we would have transformed the young African entrepreneurs into people who are financially literate, financially empowered, for them to be able to make impact in their society. And so Mpreneur that we launched recently is a mobile financial education platform for mission-driven entrepreneurs. Those are people like us. People like us who are on a mission, who want to make impact in the lives of other people. And work with them in giving them what? Financial education, learning from the best entrepreneurs across the continent, those who have built successful businesses, learn from their brains, pick their brains as mentors and as master classes. Be able to create a community in every single state, every single country, where these entrepreneurs, just like you're gathering now, come together, but with one same objective of building wealth and making impact. And adding now the financial services to it. And so this has been a dream I've been working on for the past 7 years. And finally, we found the financial partners to back us so that we can be able to do it. We have the community already. The community is Yali, is Tony Elumelu, is Rotary, Rotaractors, people who have gone to the Obama Foundation, ALX, Global Shapers, all these people like you, like myself, who have invested a little bit more in yourselves in order to get ahead in life. You need to be wealthy. When I'm saying wealthy, you need to be wealthy. You need to be wealthy in a way that money is not the issue when you wake up in the morning that you think about. And that whatever vision you're given, you have the means to fund it. That's why we're dependent on others. If you see that Bill Gates took a part of his fortune, put in a foundation, and then used that foundation to change policy globally, it's because he could afford it. So if your impact is within your county, the county you came from, or the constituency you came from, and they have a serious problem with water, and you can solve that problem in a sustainable manner, but your only thing that is holding you back is that budget, because you're looking at that number and saying, oh, I can't afford that? No, you're thinking too small. What if you were doing it for 10 constituencies? Because that's what you're destined to do. That's what you were born to do. You're born to make impact in millions of people's lives. I'm going to repeat this until you tell me to stop, but I'm going to repeat it. Because that's why I'm here. Right? I told myself, I'm not leaving this place without people who leave here transformed. That's what I'm born to do, right? So I'd like to ask you, by 2032, what will be the impact that you would have made? And for us, by 2030, the impact would be $1,000 trillion worth of impact, financial impact on the continent. Because if you take that 1 million millionaires and you put them together, that's the market capitalization that we would have created. When we achieve that, Africa will be a dominant nation, a dominant continent in the world. And so that's the impact that I'm on. That's the wealth I'm creating. What is yours, and what are you doing about it? Thank you very much.
Wow. Do you have any questions? Any visions to share that will help us be part of the 1 million millionaires? Do you have any questions? Sure.
Just a comment. I agree with you that you need to be welded to. But surely you can't wait until you are welded. That is why some of us as Rotarians, we start with what we have. And you are right when you said you cannot think that you are going to impact outside when you cannot impact your own family, your parents, everybody else. So there must be a balance. You build wealth over time. Wealth doesn't just come. And you can't wait until you are wealthy. Some of these young people are directors, so they have to start hear that kind of message. Use them, the resources they have, get resources from others.
Exactly.
Say donors and so on. So where is the balance?
Good question. I think you answered the question in saying you start where you are, with what you have, right? But with a vision, with a clear vision. The important thing is the vision. There's a lot of people who don't have that vision. There's a lot of people amongst us in our lives, in our daily lives, they find it impossible to see themselves as the donor. For them, they're always seeing themselves on the receiving side. You understand? The whole conversation is not that you'll do it overnight. It's a vision, right? Hence why I'm speaking about 10 years, right? So if you set that vision from today and you say, okay, I will be this, I will do this, then you start where you are with what you have. Because even where you are, there are things you don't see that you're capable of doing because of that thinking that I am the recipient. You understand? From the moment you change your mindset from I am the grantee to I am the grantor, your even way of living, your way of talking, your way of doing changes. The challenge we have as Africans, and this is from training so many of award-winning young leaders, but when it comes to now wealth and money, because they grew up in an environment where their parents would tell them money doesn't grow off trees, right? But money does grow off trees. If you have a 10-acre or 100-acre orchard of tomatoes, of macadamia nuts, money is growing off of a tree, right? If you're producing, pharmaceuticals, and you have multiple industries and a supply chain that is distributing medicines across the country, you're building wealth. But how are you going to achieve that without the vision? So you're perfectly right. I 100% agree. It's not a matter of speed. It's a matter of vision. If anyone sets the vision and you start where you are, then you'll be, having more momentum to go than when you sit there and think, me, I can't, right? Let me just write the proposal. Okay, no problem, write the proposal. One thing that I did for almost all of my career, every single time I got into any type of engagement, I always told myself I am a partner. I'm a partner. Even if on the contract you say, okay, contractor, like a contract agreement, me, I make another one for myself. And I put partnership agreement, right? So I'll sign the one that we'll agree on, but then I'll sign my own. Why? Because I always had this clear vision of where I'm headed, right? And that's the thing that we need to share with our children, with our spouses, with our siblings, with our brothers and sisters, that indeed, from where they are, they can start. That the little they have there is already a lot for someone else, right? So we're not poor. What we already have is enough to start. But if we say we have to wait till we've accumulated $1 million to start making impact in people's lives, then most likely you're never going to do it. So I agree with you 100%.
All right. Vision bearers. I have a question.
Yes.
2030 sounded some time back like it's too far. 2030 is just maybe another 7 years' time.
Mm-hmm.
And you're talking about 1 million millionaires.
Yes.
I don't know when you started and whether you're monitoring that, and how will you monitor to make sure that by 2030 you have achieved 1 million millionaires, and on an annual basis, do you have your own set targets to say this year there must be 500 or 1,000 or whatever, 1,000?
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Great question. So let me just go back here. So here, this is our market size, right? In terms of what we're doing now with Impreneur. So in Africa, 450 million young people between the ages of 14 and 35. So we want to focus on the top 20% of them who are already investing money in themselves. So if you're buying airtime and you're going on YouTube to learn, you're signing up for courses on Coursera or on LinkedIn, you're investing in yourself. You're going for meetings like this where you're paying money to go to the meeting, or you're paying your transportation, you're investing in yourself. That's our main target, right? So if we take that 20% out of the 450 million, we end up with 90 million people. Now from a business perspective, because it has to be sustainable, we're charging those people $5 a month, the equivalent of like 500 bob a month, to be a part of our movement, to be a part of our community, to have access to the exclusive knowledge from the top successful entrepreneurs in Africa who are teaching them how to run their businesses and how to build their businesses. Now, if you take out of those 90 million people, according to the ILO, the job organization, that 35% of young Africans are employed. So we want to focus on the 35 who are employed or self-employed, okay? So that gives us another group of 31.5 million young Africans, right? Or Africans. Let's take out young Africans who are investing in themselves but also are employed or self-employed. Now we go further and say we want the ones who are Rotarians, Rotaractors, Yali, ALX, the top of the top, the most brilliant amongst them, the most aggressive amongst them, the most visionary amongst them. That gives us 5 million people. Those 5 million people is a $300 million market capitalization for us, right, as a business. But in those 5 million people, we spread them out across 10 countries. 5 English-speaking, 5 French-speaking, if we're looking at the continent, right? And out of those 5 million people, in Kenya alone, we have 4.5 million. If we take the same model and we look at just Kenya, you have 4.5 million people who fall within this group, right? So between now and 2032, in 3 years, our goal is to get 1 million because we built it on a technology platform and we've partnered with one of the leading Pan-African banks in Africa, right? So they and us are working together to be able to acquire more people who are going to learn about financial education, but also have the financial tools to be able to grow their businesses. So it's mathematic. But why is it mathematic? Because the vision was there earlier. So in the next 12 years, in the next 10 years, in the next 8 years, sorry, out of these 5 million that we're having in 10 years, our goal is by 2023, we have 1 million members on our community. And then by 2030, we've helped them grow their businesses and their personal income to $1 million. And it is possible because we're no longer living in the same world as we were 3 years ago, right? Today, there are people who are making money from their phone, like literally from their phone. They're making businesses from their phone. And these people are not captured yet by the financial sector, right? The financial sector considers SMEs as people who have shops, who have buildings, who have physical assets. But today, there are people who have digital assets. And so we want to allow those people with digital assets to also be formalized and considered as SMEs. So that's why we're calling them entrepreneurs on their mobile, right? I am mobile, literally, right? I live in Meru, I work from everywhere else. I can come to Nairobi, I put my media in my back, right? I can create my videos from anywhere, I can sell my books from anywhere, I can build companies from anywhere, I can sign partnerships from anywhere, and everything, this presentation, I did it from my phone, right? I record my videos from my phone. So I am a different entrepreneur than someone else who has a physical shop or a physical building. Our entire team is remote, right? We have meetings on Mondays and Thursdays, everybody from their location, because I had set a goal in 2020 that I wanted to have a business that operates from the phone, a multi-million-dollar business from the phone. Now, we're 7 billion in the world. There's 1 million like me, right? And you're amongst them. So once you set yourself that goal that you're going to make that massive impact, the journey to wealth will come because you already have the creative idea. Most likely you're already running on it right now. Does that answer your question?
Thank you, he does. I think let's give him an applause. Thank you so much. In the interest of time, we'll not take any questions. I'd ask Rotarian Penina to kindly, please, the youth that is being targeted.